Let me look at this. Cities at sea. How aircraft carriers. You could lecture me about it, but you won't. Here, which one? See your message pop up. What? The first one. Okie dokie.
This video was made possible by Brilliant. Learn with Brilliant for 20% off by being one of the first 200 to sign up at brilliant.org/Wendover. A single aircraft carrier is enough to markedly change the level of a nation's military might. These ships are one of the strongest single assets a military can have. In general, under international law, aircraft carriers can legally position themselves up to 14 miles or 22 kilometers from any country's coast. Clearly, the strategic influence of being able to place a military airbase just miles from any coast in the world is enormous, especially given that 80% of the world's population lives within 60 miles or 100 kilometers from the ocean. While plenty of military vessels are capable of launching helicopters, there are just 19 aircraft carriers worldwide currently in service capable of launching fixed-wing airplanes. China, Thailand, India, Russia, and France each have 1, Italy has 2, and the US has the 11 largest in the world. These
Goddamn. See, the funny thing about aircraft carriers is I was going to be on one if I would have ended up going to the Navy, and I would have been the radar technician. Dude, I always feel so weird about talking about almost being operations specialist, because I remember when I posted my job, and this one girl who was like, I guess in the National Guard, was like, oh, you can't post that, that's classified documents. And I was like, no, it's not. But I was going to be like an operations specialist on one of these many things.
Largest carriers require over 6,000 people to operate and often stay deployed for up to a year. They are fully fledged cities at sea. The most advanced aircraft carriers, like the French Navy's Charles de Gaulle, are capable of launching an aircraft every 30 seconds. That means that, for a brief period, when launching aircraft at its maximum rate, the aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle becomes busier than Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. To be able to achieve such a capability on a moving ship is no easy feat. While the operation of these vessels gives militaries enormous strategic advantage, they also represent one of their greatest operational challenges. An aircraft carrier's offensive weapon is its aircraft. On board, carriers tend to only have a small number of defensive weapons such as surface-to-air missiles and machine guns. But of course, just like any powerful military asset, these carriers are big targets. It is for this reason that carriers never travel alone while on deployment. While the exact composition can change depending on the mission, the carrier strike groups American carriers travel with are typically made up of a guided missile cruiser equipped with Tomahawk missiles, 2 guided missile destroyers, an attack submarine, and a supply ship. An aircraft carrier is the flagship of this strike group, meaning that, in its command area, it not only has a bridge and an air traffic control center, it also has a flag bridge where an admiral commands the entire strike group. Each of the group's ships serves some combination of offensive and defensive roles. The only exception is the supply ship. Most aircraft carriers don't need regular refueling. All 11 American carriers and the French one are nuclear-powered, meaning they can sail an unlimited distance for 25 years without refueling. Even conventionally powered.
What? I knew a guy that was that was in the I don't even know what to call it. What do I call us? The group that was gonna go in. I don't know. There was a group of us all leaving at different times, and he was going to be like a nuclear. He was gonna be a nuclear something, and then my girlfriend also got an offer for nuclear I don't know what the job is called. It's been so much time.
Aircraft carriers like the UK's HMS Queen Elizabeth can travel up to 12,000 miles or 18,000 kilometers without refueling, making the need for stops infrequent.
That's
While
insane.
An American or French carrier could hypothetically sail non-stop for years or even decades, what they can't do is carry enough food, which is always needed, and aviation fuel, which is needed for combat operations,
25 years. That's insane.
to stay at sea for more than a few weeks at a time. It would be inefficient and place the carriers in a position of vulnerability to have to visit a port every few weeks to restock, especially during combat operations, so they don't. They restock while at sea.
While
the
at
supply
sea.
ships that move as part of the strike group will sail off to a nearby port to take on fuel, ammunition, food, and mail, sail back to the strike group, then match speed and maneuver alongside the carrier. From there, the two ships will shoot lines across to each other. These lines are used to pull hoses over to the carrier, which are used to transfer aviation fuel. To transfer solid supplies, there are two methods. The first is attaching pallets to dollies that wheel cargo over to the
Bro, why is this so cool? I don't know. It feels like those games where you're like managing materials and supplies.
carrier like a zip line. The second method, which is considered simpler yet more dangerous, is using helicopters to pick up pallets from the resupply ship and flying them over to the carrier. These transfers bring both crucial supplies like food and some less crucial items like mail, but this isn't the only way mail arrives on American aircraft carriers. Each carrier actually has a mailing address just like any building in the US. For example, this is the USS Gerald R. Ford address. Families of sailors can send mail to these addresses in the same way that they could to any other, and, in fact, it costs the exact same as a shipment to any other US address, even if the ship is on the other side of the world. Sailors can even order packages.
That's a lot of mail. They can order packages. The Amazon logo.
Online to their ship. Expedited mail often makes it from an address in the US to a carrier sailing somewhere around the world in just 10 days. Having this speed requires more frequent deliveries than those of the logistics ships, but conveniently, carriers are airports at sea.
Wow.
American carriers currently use a fleet of C-2 Greyhounds as cargo aircraft, providing a high-frequency, often daily connection between carriers and shore. When cruising in the South China Sea, for example, as the USS Ronald Reagan did in November 2018, mail might be sent to Singapore via conventional means. A C-2 Greyhound would then fly from the ship to Singapore, pick up the mail, and fly back to the ship. As carriers sail around the world, the pickup points of the C-2 Greyhounds are continuously shifted to nearby friendly nations. While mail does wonders for increasing crew morale, that's actually the lowest priority cargo for the C-2 Greyhounds.
It's like a base at sea. Yo, it seriously is. I forgot what my stepdad told me because he was in the Navy. My uncle was in the Navy, a bunch of them. So yeah, it's like a whole moving island. That's pretty cool. Like an island and little chain islands with it.
The
That's pretty
aircraft
cool.
are integral for bringing on spare parts for all the carrier's aircraft and transporting VIPs, press, and other individuals to and from the carriers.
Cool.
The C-2 Greyhound is about the same size
I heard they got like full-on movie theaters on board and stuff.
as an Embraer 145.
But this is just about how they work, so I don't know if he'll get into details about
A
that.
civilian aircraft capable of carrying 50 people, so it's not tiny. The longest aircraft carrier in the world, which also happens to be the newest, is the USS Gerald R. Ford, but even she is only 1,106 feet or 337 meters
Still
long.
pretty
Commercial
freaking
airports,
big.
a runway of 5,000 feet or 1,500 meters, like the one at London City Airport in London, is considered short, while large airports like London Heathrow will have runways longer than 10,000 feet or 3,000 meters. So how do C-2 Greyhounds and other aircraft on carriers deal with having runways of only 1,100 feet or 330 meters long? They don't. They take off with just 325 feet or 99 meters of space. All US and French carriers use a system of catapults to get aircraft up to takeoff speed within 3 to 4 seconds.
Catapults? And I paused the video at 555. Catapults? That's crazy.
This allows these carriers to launch a decently sized aircraft like the C-2 Greyhound with their relatively short decks. Other carriers...
That must feel so fun if you're flying, though. I'm not gonna lie. If you're a talented flyer and you're confident, I mean, you got to be confident to go off into the air, right? So that,
like the Chinese and Indian ones,
that's cool.
don't have catapults, so they can only launch lighter, shorter range aircraft capable of taking off with a very short runway. Both these two types of carriers have arrestor wires that aircraft catch on landing to decelerate with a short distance given. Every other aircraft carrier out there can only operate with aircraft capable of vertical landing. What takes place on the flight deck is carefully choreographed chaos. On American carriers, everyone's
carefully choreographed chaos.
job is easily identifiable by the color shirt they wear.
Oh.
Yellow shirts deal with navigating aircraft around the deck. Blue shirts are assistants to yellow shirts driving tugs, operating elevators, delivering messages, and more.
Okay.
Red shirts do all the handling and mounting of ammunition. Purple shirts manage aircraft fueling. Green shirts are worn by a few different groups including catapult crews, maintenance personnel, cargo handlers, and more. White shirts are also worn by a mix of personnel including those helping aircraft land or
They need to do white shirts a little bit better. Military, step your shit up.
working as medical personnel, and more. And lastly, brown shirts are worn by plane captains, who are not those that fly the aircraft. They're individually in charge of overseeing all work for getting an aircraft ready for flight. The flight deck is a dangerous place given its small size. It's so
bet.
small that all the carrier's aircraft can't fit on it, but of course just below the flight deck is the hangar. A large carrier can carry up to 100 aircraft, so massive elevators
100 aircraft, bro. What?
bring aircraft from the flight deck to the hangar for storage when not in use. About 6,000 people work and live aboard each.
White shirts are LSO. What's LSO? I'm taking a guess. Life support operators? Or I'm trying to use operations so since that was OS.
Each American carrier.
Watch all the aircrafts. Watch all the aircrafts they're carrying our paper planes. I needed your chaos. What's LSO though? Like just the military folding paper planes on board?
3,200 of them have jobs related to running the ship itself. That includes everything from working in the engine room, maintaining the nuclear reactor, cleaning
Landing signal officer. That makes a lot more sense.
to actually working up in the bridge commanding the ship. Many of these jobs are below deck,
Culinary
and since all the
specialist.
above deck space is used for flight operations, many on board
Oreo cake. This is where they make the dessert kind of airplanes.
can go weeks
That was
without
cringy.
seeing sunlight. 2,500
Whoa, what?
commanding the ship. Many of these jobs are below deck, and since all the above deck space is used for flight operations, many on board can go weeks without seeing sunlight.
They could go weeks without seeing sunlight. I don't know. I'm trying to think about what from. I love how I'm just talking as if, well, in a parallel universe, I am doing that job. So I wonder if OS would have got to see anything. I remember we were going to be watching radars, and I remember talking to a 10-year OS who was friends with my recruiting officer. And he was like, and that guy was like, you know, we it's fun. We get to see a bunch of weird things like pop up on the blimps, like on the radar, and like it would disappear, and like some things are unidentified things. He was being honest about it, funny enough. Maybe because just his 10 years of experience, he was just trying to give it to me straight, but so the Loch Ness Monster is out there. I mean, I can go weeks without sunlight, but that's by choice as a nerd. Facts. I'm not gonna lie. I always overlook that and then think about myself, and I'm like, holy shit, I kind of don't leave this room. I think the most recent sunlight I got was like maybe a couple days ago. Oh, on my birthday. Holy crap. My birthday. Oh no, because I went to the city with my girlfriend, so never mind. So I did get some sunlight. Okay, well, the 14th till... Was it? But I was in the city this week. Damn, okay, I was getting sunlight. I haven't had sunlight for 4 days so far. I haven't been outside in 4 days. If you had a radar, you could find the Wendigo finally.
2,500 other
Purple, the Wendigo in the water? In the ocean? Come on now.
personnel are part of the carrier's air wing. If this was an airbase on land, these would be everyone working there, including air
Look at the hand
controllers,
signals, bro. Look at the hand signals. It's raining here.
was an airbase
Yeah,
on
it's
land,
raining here
these would
too.
be everyone working there, including air traffic controllers,
They can swim like moose.
aircraft mechanics, fuelers, pilots, and more. The few hundred remaining personnel work assorted other jobs. In terms of personal
Was
space,
outside yesterday?
enlisted personnel, the vast majority of those
I gotta put the chat on the screen. Do I not have the chat? I can just copy this. Copy. Go here and I can put it here. Boop. Wait, well, paste. Hey, there it is. I'll put it right above here. You were outside yesterday, though? For a second. You're gonna say you were born yesterday? Gone. Meet Purple. Purple meet Gone. Gone is a new member. Chaos, yes.
on
Let's go back
board,
to this. I missed a little bit
fuelers,
of this.
pilots, and more.
I
1,500 remaining
I can see that guy do that all day long.
personnel work assorted other jobs. In terms of personal space, enlisted personnel, the vast majority of those on board, only get a single bunk in a room with sometimes more than 100 others. Higher ranked.
Imagine, this is why they call people in the Navy sardines. A can of sardines. I wouldn't have survived in here. I have willpower, but I don't know about this.
Individuals, though, of course have more spacious accommodations. As long-term homes for thousands of people, these ships also have a few small luxuries like stores, gyms, barbershops, lounges, and more, but space is at a premium when 6,000 people are packed.
Oh, they are talking about it. I wonder if he'll mention the whole movie theater thing, unless that was just lies. I don't know. I heard like being in the Navy is like literally hitting every resort
to one floating hall, and
all the things I've heard.
The mission is paramount. Since their heyday in World War II, some have started to question the place aircraft carriers have in modern warfare. Every operating country aside from the US tend to, at any given moment, have their ships either in combat, in training, or at home. The US tends to use its carriers for a fourth function, power projection. At any given moment, there is almost certainly an American carrier cruising somewhere in the world.
Oh, somewhere.
In fact, January 2017.
Power projection. Jesus. That makes it really. I've heard that America is bullies, and that really sounds like when you say something like power projection. Stores as a luxury. Congrats, you can spend money. Yay.
Was the first time since World War II that there was not an American.
You saw a carrier in Japan? Yeah, I think my stepdad's actually been there. The carrier he was on hit like every single resort spot from what I remember from the stories. So good for him. I mean,
deployment.
I can experience Japan in video games. That sounds so nerdy. That sounds so geeky.
An aircraft carrier on deployment, they're fast. They have a top speed of 35 miles or 56 kilometers per hour, meaning that a Norfolk, Virginia-based carrier could get to the Middle East in just.
I love how did this fit through that little crack? Come on now.
A week. In the Pacific, the U.S. has an even greater advantage since it has the USS Ronald Reagan based in Yokosuka, Japan, from where it could reach the shores of North Korea, for example, in just 29 hours. American carriers spend plenty of time just cruising around the world's oceans, reminding other countries of the US's military power. For example, the USS Ronald Reagan returned from a 4-month deployment from August to December 2018, during which it saw zero combat. It spent much of the time cruising around the South China Sea, an area in which China is attempting to assert military control, much to the US's displeasure. Elsewhere in Asia, American carriers also regularly make visits to the Korean Peninsula to remind North Korea of their presence. This reached a peak in November.
You could see the US being an international policeman.
2017, as tensions with North Korea reached a peak when 3 American.
Dude, why is your country like this? Bro, don't look at me. I'm just a singular entity, man. Just patrolling around Asia and Europe. Purple, you know, if I had it my way, okay, it'd be a lot more fun chaos. I was going to say it'd be a lot more chaos, but I wouldn't see the need to do this. It's like, yeah, no, we are here. That's just weird to me, man. It's like, imagine like, if you can imagine all these countries as like neighbors and houses, and then like it's like America's like neighborhood watch, and then but it's like extreme neighborhood watch. It's like they're just like, you wake up and you like kind of you're stretching for the morning. You're like the Asian house and the Europe house, and you look out your window and it's just 2 American neighbors just looking in your window. That's what it seems like. That is it exactly. That's weird. I'm just watching this from Canada. Oh my, see, I keep gone. It's cool. Purple's from Canada too. Guys, can I officially just be Canadian? Purple, we talked about this. I think I just want to officially be Canadian. I'm not. I'm close. I'm close enough to Canada. I don't identify with America. I really don't, though.
American carriers loomed near Korean shores.
Waiting on your application, you need more. The amount of French toast I've consumed in my life, I think I have enough maple.
Present an enormous target, especially in the era of stealthy drones and precise missiles. The sinking of a single U.S. aircraft carrier could result in more American military deaths than the entire Iraq War, in addition to the loss of
wow. Wait, but they know how to swim, so it's okay.
Tens of billions of dollars in military assets. While no aircraft carrier of any nation...
French people call French toast lost toast. You're lying. That just fits way too well with Lunar Was Lost. For fun and to confuse the English.
has been sunk since World War II, it's potentially more possible...
Okay, take this as my verbal application to be Canadian. Guys, we're going to sign a petition for Lunar Was Lost to be officially known as honorary Canadian.
One would think. U.S. carriers regularly participate in war games where combat conditions are simulated with allies. There have been two concerning incidents in 2005.
That's fun. War games, simulated war games. Why don't they just play COD?
In 2015.
Get the whole aircraft. Two gigantic aircrafts, just local screenplay, just playing COD.
Where Swedish and French submarines, respectively,
or Battlefield,
won the games against U.S. carriers. What this means is that the two country submarines approached close enough to the carriers where they could have, if they were an enemy in real combat, launch torpedoes and potentially sink
Battleship IRL, seriously.
This, in essence, proves that aircraft carriers, with all their defense, are not as unsinkable as some may say. Meanwhile, the US has already received the first of 10 in a new class of carriers, while China, India, and the UK each have carriers...
Wait a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We had 11 when the video started. Now they got new ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 20 of these. World War II battleships were like the glory games. What? World War II battleship. Oh, battleships. What?
Under construction, so despite their possible obsolescence, we can be sure that the aircraft carrier won't be leaving the world's oceans anytime soon.
Oh, streaming?
Streaming?
Hi, Found. Wait, is it Found on Twitch as well?
You could just say hi to them. Say hi, Gone, and say hi, Purple.
Salutations, Gone and Purple.
No one speaks French in the western part?